My brother 40 and his ex-wife 40 got divorced out of the blue. According to his ex-wife, she was always clear that she didn't want kids. I don't know the truth because my brother avoids this question. Anyway, we were still all shocked when they got divorced because these two loved each other and were inseparable. Very soon after, my brother introduced his girlfriend to us, his very pregnant girlfriend. Math ain't mathing. Mom confronted my brother, but he said it just happened, so we contacted the ex-wife, and after some prodding, she confessed that he'd been saying that he wanted children and was having anxiety because they didn't have much time left. This was 3 or 3.5 years ago. He cheated on her and she found out about it and asked for a divorce. Anyway, one day after the divorce was finalized, he married his affair partner, 29. Now they have 2 children. My brother changed a lot and he wasn't himself anymore, always brooding and looking miserable. Of course, with 2 children, you have other priorities. Still, he became very asocial and didn't do anything outside of work. According to his new wife, he was not like this when she first met him. He was happy and laid back, but now they fought a lot. Or mostly she would cry, yell at him and try to get a reaction out of him, but he wouldn't give her anything back. Then one day he moved out and filed for divorce and shared custody. 2 months ago, he told us he was getting a divorce. Now he spends his weeks without the children and with his first wife at her apartment. I think they've reconciled, or at least they're messing around. I don't have that much contact with him anymore because I'm disgusted, but he is his old self, happy and open and full of life. His current wife, pending divorce, sometimes spends time with the children at my mother's house, which is great, but she wouldn't stop talking about the ex-wife. This morning I was there and as usual she started talking about her driving by the ex-wife and seeing my brother's car. She was angry, and I got that, but I was starting to feel sick. I mean, my brother is a total idiot. But honestly, for me, she, his current wife, is a close second on the idiot scale. I was thinking this to myself absently until I was brought back to the conversation when she was yelling that she felt used to produce children so his ex didn't have to. I got agitated because while I don't understand why his ex is seeing him again, she did not use his current wife. So I very sternly and loudly said, well, maybe next time, don't sleep with married men. She was shocked and then started yelling at me. I told her that she could not possibly have seen that he always loved his ex-wife and to stop lying to herself. She started crying. When she left, my mom started crying too. Then I started crying because I thought I was the idiot too. The problem is that none of what I said wasn't the truth of what happened. I called my brother to yell at him and told him that he should have thought about his children instead of breaking up their home. He hangs up. Am I the idiot? So your brother left wife 1 because he wanted kids but she didn't, so they got divorced. Brother introduced his pregnant girlfriend and it turns out he's been having an affair with her for a few years, which is why they got divorced. So he has the kids he wants and realizes it's not all fun and rainbows and hates his life. Boo damn who? He wanted kids. He spawned 2. Sorry, the responsibility is too much. So he goes back to wife 1, who should have told him to return to his current wife, and spends time with her. I can see how wife 2 feels used. He wanted children and she was willing to have kids. She had them and then he left her. And yeah, women really should think before messing around with married men, because when a woman marries a guy who cheated on her, she's creating a job opening. She may need this dose of reality. A castle built on another woman's tears won't hold. She was told some home truths. She had an affair with a married man and then married him a day after the divorce was finalized. Damn girl, I find this extremely entertaining for me, but not for you. I'm sorry, you're not the idiot. I worry a lot about the children. I hope they have a healthy role model to look up to because this is a horrible environment in which to learn about relationships. Ex-wife number 1 is making him go to her for booty calls. I don't doubt that she has no rush on doing more than that, looking at how he's divorcing, but they are still in the weekend hookup stage. Yeah, poor kids. Everyone else seems mad about having to lie in the beds they made. Ex-wife number 1 is setting herself up for disaster too, or maybe she will eventually find someone better, and then Opie's brother will cry over losing the love of his life. I, 27 male, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, 26, for 6 years, and we officially got engaged last month. Our relationship was pretty great, but the only argument we occasionally had was her friendship with her ex, 27 male. They were friends from childhood, and they even dated for a few years. I was never comfortable with how close they were, and she even considered him her best friend, which was really irritating because I was her boyfriend. I was supposed to be her best friend. but I didn't want to be controlling or control her friendships, so I never got in her way, but I did voice my displeasure. Her ex's birthday was a couple of weeks ago and he only invited her and not me, so she really wanted to go. I was extremely unhappy and even voiced my concerns about it. Still, she told me she really wanted to be at the party and promised to treat me when she came home. She also promised that this was the last time she would hang out with him out of respect for my relationship, especially since we were engaged. She promised she would slowly cut off friendship after that night. At this point, I was extremely deflated and told her sure, but to come back home early. She was extremely happy when she came back home from the birthday party a few hours later and even initiated intimacy. Still, I rejected it because I wasn't feeling great. Over the next week, we barely spoke, even though my fiancée made a lot of attempts to communicate and apologize. She promised me she would no longer be friends with him and apologized for attending the birthday party. By Sunday, I decided after consulting with one of my close friends, 26 male, and my two sisters, 25 and 29, all three of them said she had disrespected me way too much and that I had to call it off before I actually married her. I informed my fiancée of my decision and she immediately broke down in tears and apologized. It did hurt me a lot when I saw her crying like that. I told her that I hadn't felt respected in the relationship and I just could not see myself marrying someone who had disrespected me so much throughout my entire relationship. Am I the idiot for breaking up with my fiancée because she went to her ex's birthday party? Edit: yes, I was invited to all his previous birthday parties except this one. My relationship with her BFF was fine until a year ago. I'm not sure what happened. My sisters guessed that my ex-fiancée was probably just running her mouth to him. They dated in high school. Well, there's a reason you weren't invited to the party. Probably because the friend didn't want to invite someone who clearly hates him and wants to sabotage a childhood friendship to his own birthday party. OP, instead of asking her what was going on, you just talked to your sister and she took a guess, and you just agreed with it. Your sister accused your fiancé of running her mouth to the ex, but isn't that exactly what you were doing when you went to them to complain? Isn't your sister's view also clouded by your complaints about your fiancé? Why did you ask her to marry you? You aren't ready for marriage. Breaking up was a huge overreaction. If her friendship with her childhood friend was such a deal breaker, you should have been firmer in establishing that boundary 7 years before the birthday. She ultimately agreed to cut ties with him, but I can understand why she would want closure by going to the party. It's not just an ex, but someone she's known all her life. So you are the idiot, not for being mad at her, but for immediately jumping to a breakup. So my daughter-in-law has a habit of one-upping people. At the beginning I didn't really notice it, but it's obvious now. Everyone in the family has something they're good at, and it's their thing. For example, my daughter was really into making pies. One day, daughter-in-law, I'll call her Kelly, asked for the recipes. My daughter gave them to her, and she started to bring pies to every family event, kind of kicking my daughter out of her thing, then push for the family to compare them. My daughter wasn't happy. The big one that made me really notice what she was doing was when she one-upped my youngest. She was a teen then, and when all the kids hit high school, they were responsible for getting gifts for events. My youngest wasn't hiding the fact that she was giving me a knitted scarf for Secret Santa. She was a young teen and very obvious about it. The whole family knew. So on Christmas, daughter-in-law got me a very nice scarf bonus gift and gave it to me right after my youngest gave me hers. So that wasn't okay. I had a conversation with her and she denied doing it. My son also told me he couldn't see it. Since then, more people have noticed it, and even my husband sees it. It's happened to almost every woman or girl in the family at this point. This brings me to the point of this post. I have really good Italian recipes from my mom. I bring them to events. My daughter-in-law asked for the recipes and I told her no. This started a discussion about why. She accused me of not giving her family recipes since I don't see her as family, and I told her it was due to her behavior. She called me an idiot. My son is also on my bus about it, saying I'm gatekeeping recipient since I don't like her. Not the idiot. Her behavior isn't acceptable. Give her the recipes but altered, missing ingredients, wrong amounts, etc. She can make a lesser version of it and then ask people to compare. That is so petty and messed up. Let's set a trap to humiliate her. Explain to your son that it isn't that you don't like her, it's her behavior that you find troubling, and you aren't going to enable it. Preferably put this in a letter where you can bullet point each of her instances of hurting people through her behavior so that he can't interrupt or derail you. What she did to your daughter with the scarf was unforgivably cruel, and on some level your son knows that. Give her the recipes but altered, missing ingredients, wrong amounts, etc. No, Jesus, that is not how to handle things. That is blowing stuff up. What a petty, small-minded thing to do. I know because my mother did that with her recipes, and then when friends and family said, "I made that recipe but it wasn't as good as yours," my mother would literally preen, self-serving and vicious. You should talk with daughter-in-law one-on-one about how her actions look and how they make your kids feel. She may be acting immaturely to impress you like a daughter. I, 30 male, have known my fiancée, 29 female, we'll call her Amy, for 7 years, and we got engaged 3 months ago. I also have a little sister, tween, we'll call her Lily. Amy and Lily are very close as Lily only has brothers, and Amy is an only child. Amy promised Lily before we even got engaged that she could be a bridesmaid for our wedding. Lily has waist-length red hair, which she's very proud of, and Amy loves it. She frequently comments about how gorgeous it is and loves playing with it. The problem came up last week when I was at my parents' house without Amy one day, and Lily was talking to me and asking when Amy was officially going to ask her to be a bridesmaid. She was really excited to go dress shopping. I said it was none of my business as the groom and she'd just have to wait and see, but I was really happy seeing how excited she was. I asked Amy later on when she was planning on asking Lily to be her bridesmaid, but she hesitated and then she said she wasn't going to ask her and that she wasn't going to be a bridesmaid. I was taken aback as she'd always expressed that she wanted Lily to be a part of our wedding party. For some background, we're planning a spring wedding and Amy is very keen on the trend of having all the bridesmaids wear a different pastel colour, which is all different but ties together nicely. I know that the bridal party is completely Amy's decision and not mine, but I asked her why not all of a sudden. She said that if Lily was a part of the bridal party, she would wear a pale pink dress which would clash horribly with her vivid red hair, and she didn't want that on all the photos. I don't think it would be that much of a problem, and I know Lily would love that dress as it's her favourite colour. I asked if it wasn't possible for Lily to wear one of the other colours and for one of the other bridesmaids to wear light pink. She said she'd already decided what each of the girls was wearing based on what best suited them and that it just wasn't possible for Lily to be a bridesmaid. I left it at that for the night as I didn't want to get into a fight over it then. I've so far stayed out of the way of all the bridal party stuff as it's completely her choice, but I was shocked by this as Amy has already told Lily that she can be a bridesmaid. I brought it up again the next morning calmly and asked her if there was no way she could still do it as she was so excited. Amy turned around and almost shouted in my face though and said she'd made her decision and that it was final and Lily wasn't going to be a bridesmaid. I told Lily that it turned out that, due to a couple of different reasons, she wasn't going to be able to be a bridesmaid, but I didn't tell her the reason why, as I didn't want her to feel like it was her fault. She didn't make a big deal out of it and just said okay, but from what I've seen of her and from what my parents have told me, she's really upset. Am I the idiot for being annoyed at my fiancé for not making my sister a bridesmaid? Danger, danger, Will Robinson. Your betrothed is being pretty heartless, casually discarding prior promises that were important to the family, putting colour coordination over other people's feelings, yelling at you for a polite request. You are not the idiot. Maybe she's a great person overall, but she's showing an ugly side in this situation. Everyone's the idiot here. Your fiancé has decided to exclude your young tween sister on the most important day of your life because of her tacky insistence that colour scheme must take priority. You then went, I don't want to fight about this, so you went to bed and then went along with it, breaking your sister's heart and excluding her from the most important day of your life simply because you're too lazy and too much of a doormat to actually deal with the issue and prioritize your own sibling. I bet $1 million that if you told us more about your relationship, it would become clear that there are significant issues here. Anyone willing to toy with the emotions of her young sister-in-law and throw her away because of colour schemes is not someone I would jump into a marriage with. I don't expect you to be aware of that. I expect you to grow a spine, prioritize your little sister, and stand up to your fiancé on this matter. My girlfriend and I split the cost of grocery shopping 50-50 since pretty much everything we buy is for both of us anyway. Neither of us really eats breakfast, but recently I unexpectedly lost a lot of weight, so I've started eating breakfast. Since the food I bought was just for me, I paid for it myself and got it separately from the grocery shop. I bought myself a range of things so it would last and I wouldn't have the same things each day, so it would last me a while. Once my girlfriend noticed what I bought, the next day she started using it to make herself breakfast. I asked if she wouldn't use much since I bought it for myself since I need to gain weight and it was quite expensive. She said she wouldn't use it much, but then the next day she did the same thing. I mentioned to her that since she's now eating breakfast, we'll add the food to the grocery shop then. She said no, since she's only really having it because we've got things in. She doesn't really need to have it. I pointed out that if she's going to continuously use the food I bought for myself, then the least she can do is contribute towards it. She said she doesn't want to pay for things she doesn't need, but I just pointed out she's more than happy to keep using it once someone else has paid. I just said if she doesn't want to pay towards it, then I don't want her having any more of it since I'm having to buy it more regularly if she's going to keep eating it. She said I was selfish and unfair, but I just pointed out that she expects food for free. I said I was happy to share it as long as she started paying towards it, but she just accused me of making it all about money. I just repeated that if she's not paying for any of the food, then I don't want her to have any of it. Am I the idiot for telling my girlfriend not to eat the food I bought for myself? Seems kinda crappy to say, I do not need it, but I will eat it since it's already paid for, but I do not want to pay for it. Get rid of her or get a lockbox. Or when you go grocery shopping, just toss whatever you're buying separately into the communal cart. Not the idiot, your girlfriend has a weird relationship with either money, responsibility, fairness, or all of the above. Are you sure you're not just roommates? Everyone's the idiot here. You need to have a big conversation about communication, boundaries, sharing, and cooperating in a relationship. She is the bigger idiot for taking your food and not replacing it. Still, you're also being a bit stingy about sharing your food with your girlfriend. If money's that tight, there must be a better conversation. Or the two of you need to break up and find better partners. You do not seem suited for each other.